Well, hello, NFTNYC community. I'm excited to bring this conversation. We're going to talk about Gen Z. How do you onboard Gen Z into Web3? And my guest at this moment is Gabe Viggers, who works with me and has worked with me for 5 years at Attention Live. He helps focus on product and NFTs, and he's done some extraordinary things with us and our customers at our company. And last year, he was the youngest speaker at NFTNYC. But this year, Gabe, there's a ton of adolescent kids and teenagers that are showing up. So, but please introduce yourself for people that don't know who you are, and then we'll jump into a conversation and talk a bit about Gen Z, Web3, and all the glory that is to come.
Yeah, so I've been in the Web3 space for about 3 years now. As you can tell, I'm quite young. So I started when I was about 14 and a half working in the Web3 space. I started a bow tie company when I was 12 and a half, and then did that for about a year sewing bow ties, and then just got tired as a kid, making bow ties and sewing. It's just sewing isn't the best thing to do. And, you can go skateboard or go play with your friends or do normal 12, 13-year-old stuff. And so I went to the Google Startup Weekend, started my bow tie company, and basically from there, never looked back and continued to keep going to Google Startup Weekends. That's where I met Ian, where he pitched the genesis of Attention Live when it first started, and voice tech and NFTs and blockchain and crypto was just so much better. It was so much more intriguing. It was so much more interesting than sewing bow ties. So yeah, that's my origin story.
Well, it's been a fun ride, and we're still having fun. And pretty soon, you and I'll be out in New York with all the rest of the community, right? It's going to be this huge event. Why don't you share with anybody that didn't join us in November or the prior years? What was November, October like for you in New York? You got to come, you got to speak. There's a lot of things that went on. Why don't you share a bit about your experience this last event?
Oh yeah, NFTNYC is always quite the event. Like there's always the most amazing, most abstract people you'll meet, and they're awesome. The culture is amazing. Everyone's so open and open to new things, and it's just this amazing culture that they've created. And when I had to speak last year, it was actually quite terrifying because there's so many people there, and having to display your thoughts and what you think about the space, to put it up in front of everyone and then, have to hear their feedback, which it was really good, but it was a little terrifying for that, but that's for sure, to be able to go up there for 10 minutes and then speak your thoughts. But it was an amazing experience. And I think that everyone should go to NFTNYC. The connections are amazing. Everyone's awesome. You learn everything about the NFT and crypto space because you have all these different people, these thought leaders talking about all sorts of stuff, whether it's Ian talking about the future, whether it's Fabian talking about Luxo or ERC725, or it's me talking about last year, kids, what's our place? Or where's the use place in all this? And so, yeah, you just kind of get to put all the bits and pieces of this Web3 puzzle, and then you get all the pieces, and then you get to sort of figure out where they all get put together kind of at NFTNYC. But yeah.
Well, this year you're going to come speak about where does the youth fit in to all this. So share with us, where does the youth fit into all the things we're calling Web3 and the metaverse and this NFT industry? Where do you see the youth at right now? How are they participating? And what do you see is to come?
So for sure. So at this moment, most of the teenagers are either A, buying crypto, or B, buying NFTs, more so buying crypto, just because the overall user experience for purchasing a digital asset isn't exactly the most gorgeous thing. Like it is not the easiest UI UX user experience. You gotta, download an exchange, download a third-party software, you gotta buy crypto on the exchange, yada, yada. You got all these clicks you gotta go through to, purchase your digital asset. But a lot of companies that are really been solving that, like MoonPay, for as a matter of fact, is actually doing a big lift over that. Which needs to happen is with their NFT onboarding, which means you can just pay with your card. And I think that these are key things that need to be figured out. And I think a huge part is going to be the ability to push to mobile, because in this space you can buy crypto on mobile, but not necessarily. You can buy your digital assets with your Coinbase wallet, but the experience is not fun to go through the browser on your Coinbase wallet and then to go through all those things. And so usually when you're purchasing digital assets, you do it through a computer or a desktop or something of that nature. But I genuinely feel as if, what's the number one thing everyone has on them? Their phone. And so the mobile experience, the crossover to the seamless mobile experience is going to be key, I believe, in the onboarding of Generation Z, and also things such as key management systems, because it really to store all of your assets or your digital life on a singular key might not be that smart. It's a key you can't replace. And if you lose, because you're thinking, if you think along the lines of how many 18-year-olds are going to, or 17-year-olds are going to carry a piece of paper with 10 words on them, probably not that many. And so then you can start exploring all these other different key manager systems, such as the creation of some sort of decentralized LastPass, or one of my favorites has the ERC-725. What they did with that, which was amazing, is they have a key manager system. So you can create multiple keys in the sense of, you know how you can have multiple keys into your house? You can have multiple keys into your assets. So if you lose a key, you can make a new one, and you can do all these different things, and as well as transaction relay services for sure. So this is another key point of mine. Transaction fees are obviously always going to be there, whether it's 5 cents, half a penny, or $50, like we pay $100 today. They'll always be there. But for the typical D app or decentralized application, or if someone's using it, I definitely think transaction relay services are going to be a huge business model for people in the future. And what I mean by that is some sort of a subscription someone sets up in order for the gas fees to always be paid for. And you can do that with the ERC-725 standard, is you can basically control your assets, but then because it's a smart contract based account, can let other keys take money out, but it's only, it's literally you're in control, and you can basically pay without you having to always be there. And then basically it would eliminate the need for the user to have to pay a transaction fee every single time they use your D app or something. So I really do think that those are the sort of core things, and they seem very simple and obvious, but to a 17, 16-year-old kid, a few years younger than me, these are serious things that are serious hurdles that need to get jumped for sure in order to onboard, little John, or, little friends that you, or like siblings or something, because it's not everyone's going to be able to go to the ends of time to be able to, buy a digital asset like I've done, because I've been involved forever. And so we really need to just figure out how we are going to streamline the experience. And so, yeah.
Well, that's a lot. Thanks for going through all that, right? Transaction relay services, the universal profiles, the new 725. And, there's even the key management systems that you brought up, the key manager. How about the metaverse, education, the collision that's about to happen?
Oh, yeah.
You just finished high school, all your friend, that whole age, finishing high school, going into college. So what's the collision that's about to take place for education and the metaverse and Web3, in your opinion? Love to hear.
Yeah, so I think that there will be a serious educational reckoning, and it will come in the form of first, I think before some sort of a Web3 collision, there will need to be some sort of a financial collision with high schools and stuff like that. Because for starters, if you're dealing with money, you're not taught to have a checkbook. I had to pay my taxes this year, and I buy NFTs and stuff. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I wish I was taught this in high school. It was so difficult. So I definitely see the need for some sort of financial reform or in the school systems. And then we can go into some Web3 sort of, education into, this is how you deal with gas wars. This is what, all these sort of things. This is how you protect your keys. This is, all those sort of things. And then I also believe that it is going to be key for the end user to basically enjoy what they're doing. You know what I mean? So like, you have to be able to enjoy what you're doing on that application, not be annoyed with what you're doing, basically. But for the metaverse, two particular ways in which I think the metaverse will be hit will be the workspace and schooling. Those will be the two ones metaverse wise, I believe, or I feel personally, that will be hit to begin with. And at first, for schools, like, what if you could wake up in the morning, put on your VR headset. You don't have to pay $50,000 to go to Stanford. You pay 10 or 15 because you don't have to be on campus or something. Or, all these different sort of scenarios. I feel as if the school and the workspace, so you can, put your headset on and you're with all your colleagues, you know what I mean? And so those are the two key aspects for sure, I believe.
Talk about the promise of interoperability when all of these decentralized apps, all these different layer one blockchains, all the different metaverses, maybe not all, but ideally many of them, maybe hopefully the majority, are all interoperable and can basically have assets and things passed from one platform and thing to another. I think that's a promise that you and your generation expect and want to see built and would drive towards. So maybe talk a bit about what you think is the importance of that as we continue this industry.
Yeah, for sure. So full interoperability is obviously going to be difficult. We have security problems. We have basically at the moment right now the ability to freeze an asset on one chain and then bring the representation on another. So you're not necessarily actually bringing the actual asset across. You're just freezing it on its native chain and then bringing like some sort of a representation of it across. And so when you talk about interoperability, you kind of have to talk about the parts from a very simple level. There's way more parts, but the two key parts to a blockchain are the state machine and the consensus mechanism. And so the state machine is basically what's going to be stored on chain. What type of data is being stored? What are the transaction per sec, the TPS per second? What's going to be agreed upon to be stored on chain? Basically encapsulates all possible things that someone would or could develop on the blockchain. And then basically the consensus mechanism is how will we get from state A to state B to make changes on the blockchain? How is it going to be voted? How is the power? How is everything going to change? Because again, it's decentralized. You have to have some sort of voting mechanisms. You have to have all this stuff in place. And so the end goal would to then be to connect chains with distinct state machines and consensus mechanisms so that they can all be connected basically. And so we have to be able to support the past, the present, and the future. What I mean by that is you have to be able to support when you make those bridges, you have to be able to support what's been built in the past. You know what I mean? And then you have to be able to support the present, what people are building at it right now, so you're not affecting anything. And you also have to be able to support and take into account what are people wanting to plan in the future. And so those are some key things for sure, I think, in the interoperability segment for sure. I think it's definitely going to be a challenge. I definitely could see interoperability is going to be a key thing, but I don't think it's going to be the end all be all. So if interoperability never gets figured out, I think it'll become more of a so you pick your blockchain as if you pick your country, and then you basically, like the city you live in. I'm here, but then I can drive over there. You know what I mean? And so I definitely could see that being a thing. But if interoperability is fully reached one day, I feel as if the total TAM, the total addressable market of the digital asset space will be fully realized. I don't think it's fully realized right now because everything's not fully interoperable. I feel as if it will be once everything's fully interoperable. And gas fees, I feel like will definitely take a little chill pill once you can, because you'll be able to do whatever you want on whatever chain with whatever crypto and it won't matter. And so,
Gas fees need to take a chill pill. I agree. I think everybody agrees. Okay, I want to ask about learning. So we're about to have NFTNYC. We're going to have 10 stages in 7 locations running for multiple days, several days. And so talk about learning. You get to go there, you get to learn, but you get to learn on a moment by moment basis, certainly every day, every week. So share with us, how do you learn well in the NFT industry? And what are you looking forward to learning tomorrow and certainly as the event comes this month?
Yeah, for sure. How I learn in particular is I'm much more of a visual learner. So I learn from either people showing me something, or I'm watching a presentation, or I'm watching some demo. That's why NFTNYC is the best for me, because you can audibly hear, and then you can also, because take into account, we have 1,000 speakers that are speaking about 1,000 different things. So there's all in every nook and cranny of every industry, there's some sort of blockchain Web3 sort of, like there's insurance for the Web3, there's music people, there's There's all sorts of stuff. There's you got the wallets, you got the ICO people, you got NFTs. It's not NFT.NYC is really not just an NFT conference to me. It's all things Web3 and blockchain. That's the vibe I get, and that's the vibe I got last year. I genuinely see it as one of the best, most influential, best places to learn and be if you're trying to really, what is Web3? What are these puzzle pieces? How do they get put together? What does this mean? And so going there and learning, this is what the future is going to be like. And so you basically learn those sort of things, not necessarily complete, this is what the future is going to be like, but this is sort of a direction in which we are headed as a whole. And then, I just think it's amazing. Like everyone there is smarter than you. So like everyone there it's amazing. Like everyone is so smart there. I'm constantly the least intelligent person in the room. So like it's the best place to be. Like you're the smartest person if you're the least intelligent person in the room, in my opinion.
That is true. Well, this has been fun. And before we wrap up, what have you seen that's really creative and innovative and diverse lately happening in the NFT landscape? You're like, wow, what a cool original idea. I wonder where that might go. Anything that's really caught your attention lately?
Yeah, for sure. I think this new free mint meta is pretty interesting. So the past couple of months or so, we've had these free mints. Actually, the other day, it's kind of funny. This NFT collection called NFTNYC, I believe. They basically paid every person 0.1 ETH to mint their NFT. You just pay the gas fee, and then they would shoot you 0.1 ETH for minting their NFT. So I think these new interesting metas of free mints, or we'll pay you, to mint this NFT. I think those are quite fascinating because they're super interesting. And we have to talk about Goblin Town because that just came up out of nowhere. And it was a free mint that just came up out of nowhere and took over Twitter, took over everything, and everyone's a goblin. And that's super funny. But yeah, I think this new meta of free mints and I think that's the free mints are huge because I'm also going to talk about an NFT.NYC barrier to entry for quality NFT projects are fairly high. And I have a lot of friends that are like, hey, how do I get involved in this space? And I'm like, these are a couple projects that I would consider buying from. But when you go to college and you work a normal job, you don't necessarily have $1,500, $2,000 lying around to buy into a project. And so the barrier to entry is fairly high. And I feel as if that might not be super inviting. And I understand you got to keep floors high. You got to do all that stuff. But these free mints have been amazing. You've been able to get everyone involved, like seriously. And I feel as if these sort of everyone gets involved projects are what's really going to push things forward positively, because then everyone can be involved. You don't have to, have made a bunch of ETH a year ago. You can start now, because that's what we need to do. Start now. And so, yeah.
And what do you feel about kind of the youth right now in the space, people that are your age, that are active, not those that are just kind of looking at it, but those that are launching projects with teams, or maybe they're creators, or they're a big part of a Discord. I mean, they're active. They're part of what's happening. Any thoughts on kind of, is it being received? Is it welcoming? I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, for sure. It's welcoming to the people that have been paying attention for a long time, in my opinion. If you've never bought an NFT and then you try to get involved now, it's a little difficult, in my opinion, unless you're like seriously doing your own research and all this stuff, because there's just so much crap flying around. Let's be honest here. There's just so much crap and FUD and all sorts of stuff flying around. So you really need to be particular. You need to do your own research. And I think that it's a serious thing to educate people on what they're getting into, because I have friends that are like, I'm just going to buy this, this random NFT that I saw off of this famous person's account. And it's like, don't do that. They don't plan on paying you back in any way, shape, or form at all ever again. So what you need to do, good research and help educate is definitely key, in my opinion.
Well, this was a great conversation, and different than the other 100 almost people that I've sat down with the last month as we're getting ready for the event. So glad that you offered to jump in and chat with me. I think there's a lot of insight that people can gain into how you perceive everything, how you explain everything is very articulate. So that certainly is helpful. My friend, I salute you. We'll be going to New York soon. And everybody out there, thank you for your attention. If you watched us, and I'll be back again with more of these interviews, likely from New York next week sometime. So have a very happy